Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Most Accurate Podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Akins, joined today and every Tuesday morning/afternoon by my co-host, Justin Edwards. Justin, week 10, how you doing?
Pretty good. I mean, most of my teams are still hanging in there, which is always a good thing. I scored 238 points in SFB this weekend and lost
That's rough. I scored like
because of
100.
overtime last night. I was winning until
Oh,
overtime.
I scored 180 something and lost. But I'm still hanging in there. I think I'm in third in my division. I don't know where.
Oh
I
yeah,
haven't looked at the playoffs, but I think I should make it. I'm actually doing all right there. My personal home leagues all lost. It was not a good week for me. I did manage to stay alive in my guillotine league, which is exciting. Uh, but yeah, I got back to Scott Fishbowl for a sec. I have Drake London and Chris Olave, and you can't win when two of your best wide receivers go down in the same game.
right.
So and I'm sure I was not alone there. But for the rest of you guys, hopefully you had a decent week. We have, like I said, reached double digits, which is exciting in the for those of us that create content in the space. As far as the burnout goes, when we get to the double digits, it's the end is near-ish. Uh, Not really though, but near-ish. But anyway, for those of you that are new or don't know, this is our Tuesday streaming show where we go over the best streamers at the four streamable positions, which is quarterback, tight end, kicker, and defense. Uh, I don't know about you, Justin. It's not a fantastic week for streaming, at least on the positions that I cover, but we'll get into that.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's decent. I kept looking up specific plays. I'm like, oh, that's a buy. Like, oh, that's a
yeah,
buy. Damn.
yeah. There are four teams on buys. I mean, they're not like the most prominent uh, teams. I mean, we're looking at the Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks, but there are pieces in there. So a lot of you may have to fill those holes. Let us start out as we do every week with our recap from last week, week 9. The quarterbacks were okay. It was not a fantastic week in the streaming department for quarterbacks. We had Matthew Stafford was the winner at quarterback 14. He had 17.9 points. Bo Nix was not right behind him, but behind him at quarterback 18 with 17.2. Derek Carr was QB 20 with 13.4, and Jameis Winston was quarterback 25 with 10.1. So not fantastic. A whole lot of QB2s basically is what we ended up with the
Yeah.
four streamers. So
Hey, we got the Jameis Winston week. We all knew was going to happen eventually. So
yeah, exactly. And now he gets to rest for a week before he gets to come back and crush it.
yeah,
Justin, how did your tight ends do?
tight ends were good. We did tout Noah Fant, who ended up being scratched on Friday, but our other four guys were pretty decent. We did finally get the floor outcome for Zach Ertz. We've been talking about him all year long, so it's
Mhm.
bound to happen. Ertz scored one half PPR point. He was the tight end
Ooh,
45. But we got Taysom Hill as the tight end 5, Hunter Henry as the tight end 13, and Mike Gesicki as the tight end 1. I was looking back. This is actually our third week in a row that we've nailed the overall tight end 1, which is
look
kind of
at
sweet.
you, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know from our 4for4 company Slack in the Scott Fishbowl channel, I woke up on Sunday to realize that I had no tight end because I have Noah Fant and Dallas Goddard. I've been riding with Fant, realized I had none, and Mike Gesicki was sitting there on the waiver wire for me and dropped 34 points, and I picked him up like an hour before. So
Yeah, just a happy little accident.
that was a beautiful, happy accident. Moving on to the recap of kickers. Once again, it was okay. Blake Groupie was tied for kicker 2, so he was kind of my star last week. Joshua Carty also snuck in starting kicker category there, tied for kicker 12. Jake Bakes was the kicker 15, and then Will Reichert unfortunately got hurt, and so he was kind of the he ended up being 25 there on the week, and it's a
This was
bummer
like
because
the most injury prone season for kickers, is it not? There's like never a kicker injury. There's been a few this year.
Yeah, well, San Francisco had 2 in
Right.
back-to-back weeks, and yeah, I mean, it happens. Listen, they pull groins and things happen. Sometimes I would say usually when they try to tackle,
Yeah, right.
that seems to happen. But yeah, Will Riker, as we've talked about every week, has been perfect in his very first season in the NFL, and then unfortunately missed a couple field goals and got hurt last week. So he was a bummer. Defense, how did our defensive streamers do?
Defense was all right. We had two clunkers. The Saints only scored 3 points as the defense 21. As Bryce Young actually looked kind of decent. And then we also had the Commanders at the Giants. They only scored 4 points, so they were the defense 18. But we had the overall defense 7, and Cincinnati against I almost called them the Oakland Raiders. It's been half a decade. And we also had the overall defense 5 with the Titans taking on Drake May and the Patriots. So two clunkers and then 2 top 7 finishes. So
I still say San Diego Chargers almost at least
right.
a couple times.
It's been like 8 years.
Season. I know, a couple times per season. I might as well throw out Dan Fouts as a streamer. That's where my brain goes sometimes. All right, that's a wrap up on week 9. Let's get to our weird sport of the week segment. This week's a weird one, I would say. Worm charming. For those of you that do not know, worm charming basically takes place. I don't even know how to start, but basically you're charming worms out of the ground. You get basically a 3x3 meter plot, which is 9 foot 10 inches by 9 foot 10 inches. Each person is assigned that. You are attempting to get worms up from out of the ground by any means necessary, other than digging and dishwasher detergent. I don't know. I'm guessing someone figured out that worked at one point and tried to.
That's very specific.
Tried to grease the situation there and got caught. No more dishwashing detergent. It is mostly music and vibrations is what they do use. The longest running worm charming competition takes place in Cheshire, UK. They've been holding it since 1980. It takes place in June, and basically you see how many worms you can tempt to emerge from the soil in a period of 30 minutes. Right now, the world record holder is a young woman named Sophie Smith. She got 567 worms out of the ground at the 209 championships in 30 minutes.
That's some good eating.
That is, that's interesting. I know in my thorough research of worm charming, it's some sort of passed down generational thing, clearly. I mean, you're not going to walk in and know how to do it well. I don't know. I don't know if they like jazz versus, rhythm and blues. I really don't know. Yeah. Any thoughts on worm charming, Justin?
Did you see that wood turtles do this in the wild? Wood turtles like to stomp their feet to vibrate out worms.
Oh, and then they eat them, right? So I guess that.
I don't think they're part of the competition.
No, I don't. But that makes sense. I mean, they've obviously figured it out. I wonder if that's where the competition came from. Kind of like pigs and dogs searching for truffles. I don't know. If it came from that, and then they decided, hey, why not? Let's see how many we can do. I can't imagine I'd be very good at that. I don't know. I don't even know what.
I'm not very patient, so I don't think I would.
Yes, I am not patient in any way, shape, or form. I am patient in certain things. I'm not patient when it comes to sporting. My husband is a huge fly fisher. That is his life. That is his livelihood, his job, all of it. I'm good for like 10 minutes. I'm like, get me out of here. And he can stand there for 7 hours straight, not say a word, and just fish.
Wow.
He's doing it right now, and he does it all the time. And every time I go with him, I'm literally bored out of my mind in 15 minutes. I need to go for a hike or just get out of there. Anyway, that is worm charming. For those of you who want to head over to the UK, give it a shot. Like I said, it takes place in June in the Cheshire area of the UK. All right, let's move on to streamers for the week. Actually, wait, hold on. I'm not even in the right spot here. I guess I realize we probably have.
We have a couple questions we can knock out.
That's what I meant. I wasn't in the question part of StreamYard. I was like, where?
Anyway. No one's saying anything.
Everyone's just saying hi, which is cool.
Hi.
Do we have questions, or is it all?
Yeah, we've got a couple. There's hi, Christian and Nate.
Okay.
Nate would like to know our interest or our thoughts on trading for DJ Moore, and I was kind of looking at this their at the rest of the season schedule. I know I've seen it a couple times that the Bears specifically have a difficult strength of schedule, but to wide receiver, it actually looks pretty good according to our like schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed. They get the Vikings twice in week 12 and week 15, and I'm pretty sure they're dead last in wide receiver AFPA. So
I will say this: somebody sent me a DM that had basically it was a video of DJ Moore like quitting on several plays.
oh yeah,
It,
that one where he just walks off the sideline.
yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. So we may want to keep an eye. I mean, the trade deadline is today, right? I mean, the NFL
Yeah,
trade deadline,
yeah.
not fantasy. So I don't know. Maybe something will happen there. If not, yeah. I mean, I don't. I mean, DJ Moore is DJ Moore, right? He's gonna have really good weeks. He's also gonna have some stinkers, which he has. So
He
uh,
probably wouldn't have to give up a ton. The
yeah, I
the
think
manager's
he's
probably annoyed right now.
yeah, exactly. I agree with you there. I will repeat this. I forgot to say this earlier. Justin and I have decided we are no longer doing start sits on Tuesdays because it's just too early. So if you could ask us other questions, waiver wire, streaming, trade, whatever, we're down. It's just a little too early to kind of answer start sits, especially there. I mean, injury reports
And
haven't
there's
even come
trades
out,
happening right now.
and
So
and there are trades happening. Hopefully, we get some fun trades today. That
yeah,
would be nice. And then actually, the uh, fantasy trade deadlines are coming up. I know. I believe Yahoo. I think Yahoo's default is week 11. I think ESPN's default is week 13, and I know on Sleeper you kind of set your own. So we the trade deadlines are quickly approaching here, so
right.
people look out for that. All right, let's move on real quick here to quarterbacks, and then we'll come back to your questions as they come in. This is not a fantastic week for quarterback streaming.
Really?
I'm gonna be straight up with you here. It's a lot of grossness and hoping. So hopefully you guys have a quarterback that you like. But for those that don't, or those that are missing ones on by, I've got a few for you. First guy I have is Russell Wilson. He is on the road this week against the Commanders. He is 16% rostered. Russell Wilson's putting up decent numbers. He's quarterback 9 in week 7 and 8 since his return. He was obviously off last week, but the 2 weeks he came back, he was quarterback 9. He has yet to throw an interception in his Steelers tenure there. God, I almost just said the former name for the Commanders. Wow.
We're all over the place.
We are all over the place. The Washington Commanders are 18th in quarterback adjusted fantasy points allowed, so a little worse than half there in the league. So it's a decent matchup. He is the best of what we have this week. He still has his full arsenal of weapons there, so he should be all right. The second streamer this week, don't even like really, but Derek Carr against Atlanta. He is 13% rostered. He is still the quarterback of the Saints, courtesy of interim head coach Darren Rizzi has said here that he's sticking with Derek Carr. Atlanta's 20th against the quarterback. Maybe there'll be some kind of spark. We see how that happens sometimes with an interim coach. So that's really the basis here. Decent matchup. Interim head coach. He's likely without Chris Olave, I would have to assume after that hit.
Yeah, that's a pretty
week.
brutal concussion.
Yeah, and that's the second one this season. So I cannot imagine he's coming back soon. So, and Rashid Shaheed's already out for the season. So we're looking at we're back to the Bub Means, Mason Tipton, Taysom Hill, Kamara with a lot, but like I said, he's a body, and we'll see what happens there. Third one, also a body that I do not love, but he's actually this one's a little bit better. We have Daniel Jones against Carolina. He's 10% rostered. They are playing in Germany this week. Like I said, it's kind of gross, but maybe the international vibe will do something there for Daniel Jones. The good news is the Panthers are 30th in quarterback adjusted fantasy points allowed. They're allowing 20.4 fantasy points per week to opposing quarterbacks. So he is Daniel Jones, but I think it's a good matchup, and they're they're in Europe, so it could be fun there. I've got one more, the fourth option, horrific matchup, but it's Drake May against the Bears on the road. The Bears are first against the quarterback, so like I said, not a good matchup by any stretch. And really, May's been okay. Last week was kind of a mixed bag, right? He lost a fumble, he threw 2 picks, but he also threw for 206 yards and a touchdown. So
Yeah. And he ran for like 95 yards
yeah,
too.
I mean, I think it's really a desperation play because it is not a good opponent to go up against. But I know a lot of people are desperate out there. So if you are, Drake May is an option. So there's the four. You got Wilson, Carr, Jones, May. Don't love any. Wilson, I think, is your better option of the four. Thoughts, Justin? Or
I like DJ this week. I don't know. I like it's a soft like. Like I like Daniel Jones this week, kind of.
yeah, I mean, it's like we said, he's the international vibes sometimes. Listen, we've seen Blake Bortles throw for like 500 yards and 4
Right,
touchdowns
exactly.
in London, so you never know. But yeah, it's not great. Uh, sorry, my work Slack is blowing up when they should know that we are on this podcast right now, but they do not, clearly. Okay, before we get to tight ends, you want to any questions that you've seen while I was talking that you want to answer?
Michael here's in SFB and is looking to add Cedric Wilson. Already has Tipton. Do either of these guys be fantasy viable as a stash? I think I would rather have Cedric Wilson. Yeah.
Of course, I read that as Tillman. I was like, why is that even a question? But I realized that that's not what that was saying. I mean, it's Scott Fishbowl. I think anyone is viable as a stash. So, but I'd probably have Wilson over Tipton. I don't know. It's hard. Like we saw the same team without Olave, and we didn't see Tipton. I don't know offhand exactly what he did, but I know it wasn't anything fantasy worthy. Same with Bub Means. So Cedric Wilson's an interesting stash, though. Why not?
Trying to see if he has any. Cedric Wilson has one return this season. Oh, and he muffed it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's probably why they pulled him out.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about return. I mean, I didn't forget about return yards because I do have.
So I mean, I don't know. I understand the process. I have not been aiming for any of these Saints wide receiver 7s.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think they're. Yeah, I mean, listen, it depends on Michael who you have, obviously, who you're looking to drop, but I wouldn't run out and grab either of them.
Right. I wouldn't dump the rest of your FAAB or anything like that.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay.
Buenos dias.
Hi, Mac. Welcome back. Okay. Michael just traded Aaron Jones and Tillman for Devonta Smith and Hawkinson. I didn't like Tillman's schedule. Jones' history of injury. I have Gibbs, R. White, Bigsby, and White. Thoughts? Yeah, I'm down with that.
That's great.
I mean, Aaron Jones, we keep waiting for him to get hurt, which is horrible, but it's
just the nature of the beast.
It is. It hasn't happened, but I think Hawkinson, he will. I don't remember exactly how many targets he had, but I know that he's going to get more involved as we go here.
Yeah, they'll ramp him up for sure.
For sure. I actually have him on every team, but I didn't. Let's see. He had 4 targets. He caught 3 for 27 yards. So it was, and his remaining schedule is good. So I'm down with that. At this point, you want. I don't know who else you had as far as tight ends go, but grabbing Hawkinson is not bad, and Devonta Smith is always solid, and AJ Brown's hurt, so I think you did well there, Michael.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
All right, Justin Edwards, let's get to some. I full named you. Let's get to some tight ends.
Am I in trouble? All right, let's get to
never.
Let's get to some tight ends here. We're Tim Hill as the highest suggested streamer. Just because, I mean, they're not taking him off the field. He had 4 snaps as a quarterback, 7 out of the backfield, 10 as an inline tight end, and 14 out of the slot route wide. He's just the joker of the offense. He's like the goal line back, which is funny. It's whatever. We've got Jordan Mims running around back there. Kendre Miller is constantly injured. Jamal Williams is sidelined right now. As we mentioned earlier, Rashid Shaheed is sidelined. Chris Olave is probably sidelined again. So I like Taysom Hill this week. I
Yeah.
think, as we kind of touched on last week, there's a chance he just straight up scores 0. But I think his ceiling of scoring 15 to 20 is just worth that
Yeah,
option when you're looking at tight ends.
Yeah, I think with how decimated they are, I think the chances of him scoring 0 are
That's true. Yeah.
closer to 0 than they are on most weeks.
Right.
I mean, he's gonna get some sort of usage, especially
Yeah.
because he's so varied. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're great. So yeah, Taysom's my preferred option this week, but we do have some pretty good options, honestly, behind him. Hunter Henry was my second most, I don't know, my second favorite tight end of the week. What am I trying to say here? Since Drake May took over back in week 6, and May hasn't started all these games, he missed that one or most of that one because of the concussion. But Henry is 11th in route participation and target share, and he has the 6th most receiving yards per game at the tight end position over these last 4 games. I think that continues to ramp up. I've also got Mike Gesicki here, but this is purely if T. Higgins is not playing. We've seen the splits. They're huge. It's massive. With Higgins on the field, he gets about 1.6 catches and 14 yards a game. With Higgins off the field for the 4 games that he's missed, Gesicki has scored 3.3 points, 12.6, 8.8, and then 24.5 last week. And let's see, digging a little deeper, if all those guys are not in your league, Jonnu Smith has a pretty good matchup here against Los Angeles, who is 23rd in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to the tight end position. Jonnu Smith has had at least 6 targets and 4 catches in each of the last 4 games, including that 7 for 96 and a touchdown back in week 7. And then if you want to go super, super deep, like if somehow all of those guys are taken, which I don't see how that's even possible, but if you want to get cute, Jatavian Sanders is a pretty interesting start this week. We talked about that Carolina-New York game over in Germany. He's available in 99% of leagues. I can't imagine he's taken in your league if you're honestly looking this deep. He just had that 46-yard catch and run last week where he hurdled a dude, and when a tight end hurdles a guy, it's always just fantastic. So if you want to pick him up just because he hurdled someone, I'm here for it.
Love the hurdle. Listen, they may be. I don't know. It's funny because we always like these international games, like Germany specifically. Like I don't know, is it a detraction? There's lots of schnitzel and beer versus like
everyone's going to be sluggish.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. But no, listen, you put some good options. I'm always here for a Jonnu Smith game.
Right.
I'm always about that. If so, all right. Before we get to questions or our next streaming, we got to talk about Prize Picks.
Oh, gotta.
We know there are a ton of options out there for real money sports action, but we have found one that really stands out from the rest. Prize Picks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. Prize Picks is so easy to play, and now you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as few as 4 correct picks. One thing I really like is that Prize Picks is also the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy. So your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured, which we all know happens every week. If you sign up today, you will get $50 instantly when you play just $5. And that $50 bonus is guaranteed whether you win or not. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which ones are going off, which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. So this week, I like Tyrone Tracy. I like him to rush for more than 69.5 yards.
Nice.
The Panthers are allowing the most ground yards to enemy running backs this season. They're allowing 132 per game. Tracy's last 2 outings, he dropped 145 2 weeks ago, and then he dropped 66. So I think you should roll this week in Germany for more than 69.5 yards. So nice. Download the app today. Use code TMAP, T-M-A-P, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, just download the Prize Picks app. Use promo code TMAP, T-M-A-P. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Yeah, Tracy
All
was
right.
smashing that.
Yeah, I mean,
He's absolutely smashing that.
and I know you were. I do remember that you were a big Tracy fan this summer before we even started. So hopefully you drafted him a lot in best
Yeah.
ball and all those things, because it's exactly what's coming on. He is. We knew Devin Singletary wasn't going to hang on to that starting role for the entire season.
Right.
So yeah, Tyrone Tracy there. All right, before we get into the final two positions for streaming, let's take another question or two so I can catch my breath
Yeah.
from that read.
We got Mac here. Are we hanging on to DJ Moore or Pittman? I don't think I'll get any good trades for them. We kind of touched on Moore at the very top of the episode. I like DJ Moore. I would like him to be on my team. I'm like out on the Pittman experience with the Colts just not being able to lock in on a quarterback. And even if they do lock in on Flacco or Richardson, I don't think it matters. I think Pittman is like a wide receiver 4 for the rest of the season. Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to hold on to him though. What are you going to get for Michael Pittman? Like the tight end 14?
Yeah, that's a tough one. You have to kind of hope that someone in your league just isn't paying attention and they just go by name, like, oh, Michael Pittman. Yeah, that's really all you're going to do. You can try to swap out for maybe, an RB3 or 4 or something. I mean, you're not going to get much. So I think you're going to hang on. I mean, I know you just talked about DJ Moore. I talked about him a little earlier in that, I don't know. We'll have to kind of see. We've seen plays where he's quitting, but then he also has good games. So it's really tough to know. But I think DJ Moore is someone that still has value. You could probably trade him to somebody more than Pittman.
Matt traded away Chuba and Tank for Brian Thomas Jr. Are we okay with that?
Which Tank? That's tough to know, but
it's probably Bigsby.
Why isn't it Dell? You don't know.
Well, if it's Tank Bigsby, I think it's probably fine. Unless, trade deadline. What if they do get rid of Travis Etienne?
Yeah. Okay. So you traded away Chuba and Tank for Brian Thomas Jr. One more question. Do I unload FAAB for Rico Dowdle? Okay. So back to the traded. I mean, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's fine. As far as unload for, I mean, I would probably go for Dowdle. I don't know. I traded him away last week, and then of course he had a good game. But I mean, I got Darnell Mooney. Like, it wasn't like it was. I mean, I didn't. It was I think it was actually a very even trade. It was just a 1-for-1, and we were both happy. But yeah, I like Rico Dowdle. The fact that he's there is kind of shocking as a waiver pickup.
Yeah, and we're getting up there too. So like, get rid of your FAAB. I'm always on team. I'm trying to get rid of FAAB as early as possible, so I don't have to mess with it.
Yeah, I'm not on that team, but we are at the point where, and especially someone like that who really shouldn't be on the waiver wire. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott, something's going on there clearly, right? He was a healthy scratch this week. He didn't show up for things. The Dallas is a little bit broken, but at the same time, I think Dowdle has a firm hold of that role. So yes, right. I would unload whatever you have there. Sure, why not?
Lead Giants defense is a streamer. We'll talk about them in a little bit.
Okay, let's do one more. Let's do Chris Paglia, and then we'll move on to kicker here. Really deep at wide receiver. Would you trade Brian Thomas Jr., T. Higgins, and Chase Brown for AJ Brown and Tyrone Tracy?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would.
Yeah. Tyrone Tracy is solid. AJ Brown, he does have a knee injury, but they're saying it's not as bad. It's not anything major. So he'll be fine. Higgins is hurt. Brian Thomas Jr. is hurt as well, but he's back. And Chase Brown's fine, but I think you're making out better with those two. Yeah.
Yeah. AJ Brown's easily the best person in this deal. So
yeah. Agreed. All right, let's get to kicker here this week. It's an okay week for kicker, I will say. I've got a few that I'm more confident in, I think, than I was in the quarterback segment of this podcast. But there's some decent kickers. The good news is that of the four teams that are on buys, none of them are starting kickers, so we're not losing any kickers there, which is always nice. Okay, so my first kicker of the week is kind of a twofold. It is the 49ers kicker. We're looking at either Jake Moody or Anders Carlson. Jake Moody has been dealing with a high ankle sprain, like we talked about earlier, from tackling. Uh, but he's been out for a few weeks. He did practice on Monday, though. He practiced yesterday. I did see an article that did say that he's not in a hurry, though. So I'm not sure if he's going to be back or not. But either him or Anders Carlson, they are playing Tampa Bay this weekend. Moody is 26% rostered. Carlson is 1%. So they're both pretty readily available there. The 49ers have a team total of 27.25, which is good. And they are favored by 6.5 in this contest. So the Niners kicker is my top guy of the week. Second guy, broken record here, Jake Bates against Houston. He's still 36% rostered, people. So he is the kicker 4 over the last 4 weeks. Detroit is a field goal favorite this week in Houston with a 26.5 team total. So he's good there. Third guy I have is Joshua Carty. I believe he was on this list last week. He is at home against Miami. He's only 2% rostered. The Rams are kind of rolling here, right? They've won 3 straight.
Right.
They are this game in particular has the third highest over under of the week at 50.5. The Rams in particular are their team total is 26.5, and they're favored by 2.5 over the Dolphins at home. So Carty's a good option. Also on the other side of that game, we have Jason Sanders. Like I said, on the road in LA, he is 32% rostered. They have a team total of 24, and they're underdogs by 2.5. But Jason Sanders is also a decent option this week. I did bring one more bonus guy. Not a very good matchup. However, due to the bye last week, Chris Boswell has slid under the streaming threshold there. He's at 38% rostered. Chris Boswell's kicker 3 on the season, people.
Okay.
Yeah. They're road dogs by 2.5, and their team total is only 21.75 against the Commanders. So it's not a fantastic matchup for Chris Boswell, but that doesn't seem to matter. He's in the top whatever every week. Like I said, he's kicker 3 on the season. So if he's there, you might want to just grab him and roll with him because he seems to be crushing it every week. So there you go. You got San Francisco kicker, you got Bates, Carty, Sanders, and Boswell.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
gotta have, there's no way all those guys are owned in your league.
Yeah, no.
There are many options.
Yeah, there are some decent options this week for sure. All right, let's get to. I did see a kicker question somewhere.
Yeah. Here, let's just do this one.
Yeah. First of all, you don't need to say LOL after kicker question. They're real. These questions. You're allowed to ask them. Cardi, Bates, and Folk for this week. I'd go Bates over Cardi by a hair, and then Folk. That would be how I would rank them this week. And Michael, you can always ask kicker questions. Very safe kicker zone here.
The show, yeah.
On TMAP.
That's why we're here.
Okay. Friesel Fantasy. Oh, Freezy. I'm sorry.
Freezy Fantasy.
Freezy. 10-man, 10-person PPR 2 flex league. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to feminist it up right now, but 2-man PPR 2 flex league. Trade Jamar, Brian Robinson Jr., Mooney for Mixon and CD. My other wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Terry, and Reed.
I don't really love it.
Jamar, Robinson, and Mooney for Mixon and CD.
I mean, you're improving your running back room for sure, and you're pretty stacked at wide receivers. But like, how much more do you like Jamar over CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like, I don't know if it's worth giving up Mooney.
Also, Dak is out.
And
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, it's like Cooper Rush throwing to CeeDee Lamb or like.
Yeah, I mean, Dak will be back. He's not out for the season, but he's out for a few weeks at least. So, Mooney has been.
I don't think I like it.
Yeah, I don't think I do either. I'm sorry, Freezy. We both don't love it, but if you do, feel free, of course. But yeah. as soon as you threw in the Dak, I forgot that Dak is out too. And
Would you
um,
trade? Here's a question for us, I guess. Would you trade Brian Robinson Jr. and Darnell Mooney for Joe Mixon?
um begrudgingly, I would.
Yeah,
I'm not a Joe Mixon fan, but I have to accept that he is having a fantastic season.
yeah,
I do like Mooney. I mean, Robinson is hurt. I mean, he was out this week, so
yeah,
I would do that. And then, but as far as Jamar and CD straight up, I mean, I would maybe hang on to Jamar, but that's
yeah.
just me.
Right.
I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Um, we don't
Hopefully that
love
helped
it.
Freezy.
We don't hate it, but we don't love it. How about that?
Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Want to do
Let's
one
go
more?
to. Well, yeah, you can throw. Yeah, let's throw out one more before we go to defenses.
Okay. Hey y'all. Hey Daniel. Which trade is
Hi.
better, Devonta Smith and Tyrone for Cup and Devonta, plus
Wait, plus.
Devonta Smith and Tyrone Tracy for Cooper Cup, or Devonta Smith plus Josh Jacobs for Nico and Tony Pollard. I mean, I'd rather have the first one, assuming that Cup. I mean, they're not trading Cup. We've already went over this. Assuming that the Rams are not trading Cooper Cup, but there's no way they're trading Cooper Cup.
No, they're not. Devonta Smith and Tyrone Tracy for Cup. Like, I just feel like that's a lot for
It is
Cooper
a
Cup.
lot.
I would not like that. Um, and then Devonta Smith and Josh Jacobs for Nico and Tony Pollard. That one's a little bit more fair, I guess.
Do we have a concrete timeline on Nico? Is it still like week 12 or something?
Let's see real quick if I can
I feel like
find
he's been
anything.
out of the
I know,
spotlight. I haven't
I
even thought
know,
about
and I
him.
feel like every time I look, it's like, I mean, week 11 is kind of what I'm seeing here.
Okay.
They're
Well, I
going to
mean,
continue to evaluate. I mean, it's a hamstring, but at the moment, week 11 is what we're looking at.
it would be sweet to have Nico for your fantasy stretch run, though. That would be
Yeah,
nice.
for the playoffs, it would be nice.
So I might have been convinced. Maybe I like the second one more.
Yeah, I like the second one more. I just feel like the first one, I feel like you're giving up a little bit too much for Cooper Cup.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Some
Let's
defenses.
yeah. Who'd you bring for us this week for streaming defenses?
I only brought 3 today. Just I kept looking, and I felt like I was trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel. And all 3 of these teams are rostered or owned in 14% or less of leagues. So these 3 are plenty. Starting off here, I've got the Falcons at the Saints. The Saints, as we've talked about, have been kind of a wreck in their skill position rooms, and also their offensive line has been dealing with injuries as well. The Falcons aren't like a world-beating defense here, but I just think they have a good floor against the Saints team that has failed to score more than 13 points on a number of occasions, and this basically since week 2. They came out with guns blazing, and then they've kind of been womp since then. The Saints are also ranked 28th in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to opposing defenses, so they're the 5th worst at it. So Falcons. And then, as I believe Lee mentioned earlier, the Giants are a streaming option this week against the Panthers. The Giants have the 5th highest pressure rate in the league. I'm assuming that Bryce Young is going to continue to start at least for another week. We'll see if they go back and forth. I mean, they just got rid of Jonathan Mingo, if that means anything to anyone. But the Giants are a good streamer here against Carolina, who have been very giving to opposing DSTs. And then our third and final one is the Patriots against the Chicago Bears. As we've kind of touched on with DJ Moore, this offense has been all over the place. Caleb Williams has had as many terrible games as he's had very good games. And the Chicago offensive line ranks 31st with a 10.4% adjusted sack rate. So I believe the New England Patriots have a very good floor this week. Again, those 3 are the Falcons at 10% rostered, the Patriots at 14% rostered, and the Giants at 7% rostered. So one of those teams should be available for your waiver wire goodness.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Justin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was totally paying attention and not looking at something else real quick. Um,
Hey, it's not for you. You already know my
I know.
options, you know?
I know. Okay. All right, let's get to another question here. Mac fam,
Yeah, let's do it.
do you guys have any RB stash priorities? I'd like to get ahead of waivers. One I will say, and I always think of my old co-host Brandon Niles because he was a big fan and I never was, and we used to fight about him. But I'm gonna throw out Cam Akers.
Okay.
You folks out there, he has leapfrogged Ty Chandler on the Vikings for the RB2 spot over the last 2 weeks. I mean, he saw 8 touches last week on 16 snaps. Chandler has had 0 opportunities on just 8 snaps in the last 2 weeks. He only has 2 carries for 4 yards since their week 6 bye. So Ty Chandler,
Dang.
I don't know why they're yeah. And as we talked about maybe 15 minutes ago, Aaron Jones is, we're all kind of waiting for him to get hurt here.
Yeah.
Not that we want that, but you know what I'm saying. It tends to happen. So Cam Akers is kind of a secret stash. People are not really thinking about him. He's one I'll throw out there. Justin, do you have any running back stashes that you?
If you want to go like super deep, I did just talk about Audric Estime here on the
Yeah,
YouTube channel last night. It's pretty deep. I don't think he's going to take over Javonte Williams' role, but I do think he's going to start to get involved in the offense more often. Jaleel McLaughlin has not looked like this explosive option we thought we had on our hands after his rookie season. So I think they're going to want to see what Estime has as the season goes on. Is that going to be like a top 20 fantasy option? Maybe not, but I think it's worth it to stash, and especially if you're like a 7-2 team or something, and you don't need the 3 tight ends on your bench or whatever. Just
right.
start grabbing guys who could earn a bigger role the next month.
Yeah, the Broncos wide receiver or running back room is just a disgusting, like 5-headed thing right now. I hate
Right.
it so much every week. And then Sean Payton just, oh, this week so and so is going to get more, and then they get nothing, and it's
Right.
so frustrating. I'm trying to think of anyone else that I feel like. I mean, they're all the usual suspects, right? Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Tyler Algier,
Sure.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
all those guys. Keaton Mitchell is one that you could kind of think about for the Ravens. He's coming off IR. Justice Hill, we know but he has a certain role. Like, God forbid something happened to Derrick Henry, they're not going to give the whole thing to Justice Hill.
Absolutely not. Right. Yeah.
So Keaton Mitchell is, like Justin said, if you have room on your bench and you just want to kind of stash someone, he could do absolutely nothing, or he could have a decent run, which he's done in the past before he got hurt. So
Right.
I think those are kind of the guys we'd throw out there.
Can you imagine
Michael,
that backfield? I'm sorry. Just Lamar, Derek, and Keaton Mitchell if he's fully healthy. It's so
yeah.
close.
Okay, Michael, how much FAAB should I use for Khalil Herbert? For those of you who don't know, he was traded to the Bengals. I actually didn't know because I've been doing this and working prior, and that's why when you were talking about defenses, I was like, I looked up Khalil Herbert real quick because I missed that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of stoked about that though because I put him in my stash article last week in the hopes that
Oh, nice.
he got traded somewhere. So I'm glad he did. So hopefully
Yeah, we
some of
can
you
see the
guys.
writing on the wall a little bit. He hasn't.
Yeah,
I feel like he hasn't touched the ball in like 6 weeks.
yeah. So he is now on the Bengals. Which,
hmm
how do you feel about that as a Bengal fan / fantasy football analyst?
Um, lukewarm. Moss. I think it was announced yesterday that Moss is out indefinitely, whatever that means. So he might not even play again this season. Um, you know, I hate giving this advice, but in all honesty, I would probably use like $200 of that 228
Ugh,
and just
don't
like get rid of it.
no, do not spend all of your money on Khalil Herbert. I beg you. It is only week 10, but I would spend a decent amount if you're hurting at RB. It says here that you need an RB2. So for if it
Oh, to
were
start him
me,
this week kind of stinks though.
I would for if it was me and that's my $228 out of $1,000 budget, I'd go in the $30 to $40 range. But
Okay,
that's just me.
that's
Like I
that's more
said,
sensible than
we
just
have different strategies here. Justin just opens up the purse
I do.
and I do not. So yeah, I think it's not a fantastic week for waivers, so he might garner a little more, like 50 to 60, but I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's a
Waivers do kind of stink this week, though. You're
yeah,
right.
they're not great. So I think if you need him, I think he's worth grabbing, but I would not spend everything you have. There's too much time left in the
That's more
season.
sensible. Listen to her.
Um, okay, Frizzle,
We
or
got Frizzles and
Frizzle.
Frizzies here.
Yeah. Would you trade would you trade Flowers and Devonta Smith for Jonathan Taylor? Wow, you're
I
giving
don't
up two.
know.
I guess it depends on what else you. I mean, if your wide receiver room is stacked, then sure.
Yeah.
But you're giving up two really good wide receivers, so it seems like you're giving up a little too much there. But if the rest of your wide receiver room is with guys all wide receiver ones, then go for it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I might pass on that.
like I said, unless you have a totally stacked wide receiver room, but I don't think
Yeah, like
Jonathan
if these
Taylor.
guys are
I don't.
just on your bench, then I get it.
Yeah, I don't think that. Hold on, let me actually have some data to back this up before I throw that out there. um, as we tend to do sometimes, because things get thrown at us, and we're not expected to know everything at all
Yeah,
times.
it happens.
Yeah. All right. So Zay Flowers is the wide receiver 10 on the season in half PPR scoring. And Devonta Smith is the wide receiver 17. Let's see. So yeah, you're basically giving up a wide receiver 1 and a wide receiver 2.
And then
I don't know.
what's Taylor? I mean, you don't have to pull it off your head, but he's
Oh, I
probably
don't
like
have
the
it in my
RB.
head.
He's like the
So
RB8 or something,
let's
which is
see here.
good.
He is not. Where is he?
Maybe they're worried about the Deontay Johnson addition, but I think that's more of like I think Bateman's about to get less usage than
Yeah, Taylor is
like
the wide
Flowers.
receiver 9 in half PPR points per game. And he is the wide receiver, or sorry, he's the running back 23
Right.
total. Because
Oh,
he
okay.
he
You
missed
know,
a couple
yeah,
games. So, but he is the 10 in half PPR points per game. So I think you might be giving up a little too much there. I
yeah,
would
I agree.
try to give someone a little less than Flowers or a little less than Smith.
Yeah,
But you're giving up two really good wide receivers.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Um.
Jesse's talking about the Taysom Hill stream.
Yep.
Yeah, we kind of crushed that. And then thoughts on Hill moving forward. I did
Oh,
hit him.
Tyreek.
Oh yeah. Oh, I think it's both. Also,
No.
what's your touch?
Yeah. No, the
They're both
top is
Hills.
Taysom. The bottom is Tyreek. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Taysom, I'm streaming again this week, and then I'll reconvene next week and see if we keep playing Taysom. I think he's fine. He's just like he's benefiting from the entire team going on on the sideline. And then
uh,
Tyreek, I mean, what do you think about Tyreek? I think
I
he's
think he's
a high
good.
end wide receiver 2 or a low end wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, Tua's back. They take a minute to reconnect, but yeah, I think he's still a wide receiver 1 rest of season. I mean, he's
Yeah.
been. Let's see his.
I mean, he had 72 yards 2 weeks ago and then 80 yards last
Yeah,
week. So
I
he's
mean,
revving up, you know?
he just needs to get in the end zone and he'll be fine. But yeah, I think he's in the wide receiver 8 to 12 range for the rest of the season. So I wouldn't try to deal him unless you're getting something huge in return. Because I think he's going to be fine. And there's a lot of hurt wide receivers, a lot of hurt quarterbacks.
Right.
Like he actually has a healthy one back, and he's healthy. So I would hang on to him. I assume that's why you're asking. Okay, the rest of these are about the other.
Yeah. You want to hit on? I think we could probably catch up. Yeah. Let's see.
Catch up. What do you
How
mean?
about Abil?
Okay, 2 QB standard scoring. Should I trade Dobbins for Mahomes? I've got solid depth at running back. He would also take Jay Reed or Chase Brown. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who you have at quarterback. Mahomes has been not fantastic. However, he's
If
Mahomes, and
if you feel the need to trade any of these guys, it's definitely Dobbins over. I'm not sending Jaden Reed or Chase Brown for a quarterback, but I would consider sending Dobbins for Mahomes. And if it's a huge upgrade at quarterback, I see it, but like Mahomes isn't going to be the quarterback one for the rest of the way. So
No, he's not.
it's like the QB 8. What do you think Mahomes is for the rest of the season? QB 8, QB 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still. I think he's in the low. Yeah, he's in the low quarterback one territory. I mean, he just somehow pulls off. I mean, look at last night. He had this crazy,
Right.
weird non-contact knee injury that looked like he was going to be out, and he was
He
not.
just came right back in, right?
Came back and then led an overtime win. So I know that doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy points all the time, but without knowing the rest of your roster, without knowing who you're upgrading from, it's tough to really answer that. But I think Mahomes, I think like straight up Dobbins for Mahomes, I think is fine.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, sure.
Yeah. You're welcome, Mac. Let's see. We got 2 more. You think we can knock these last 2 out?
Yeah, that's fine. My meeting was canceled while we were on this thing.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, and you would think our boss would know that I was in the middle of this podcast and not to text me about our meeting, but sure
Right.
enough, that's happening. Okay, Michael, I have Stroud and Love in Dynasty. I'm 4 and 5. Someone wants May. Which of these good fair trade value for May? DK Metcalf, Wilson, Barkley, or Jacobs? I'm gonna default this to you because I'm not a Dynasty person.
Yeah. How about will you answer Daniel and I'll look up DLF's trade calculator?
Yeah, sure. Daniel, follow up. Would you trade Devonta and Josh Jacobs for Garrett Wilson and Chubb? That's a tough one. I feel like Chubb is I think Chubb will get his due, right? I think right now he's a slow ramp up, right? I mean, he had a pretty gnarly injury, so they're keeping him back a little bit. And Garrett Wilson, I don't know. It's one of those things. Last week, everyone's like, "Oh no, the Jets are back." I don't know if they're really, really back. So, I do like Chubb though, and I feel like, I mean, Jacobs has been a lot better than we thought he would this season. I mean, I would do it. I just don't know why. Like, I don't think you're getting. I just don't know if you're getting that much better, if that makes sense. Between Devonta Smith and Garrett Wilson. Like, I feel like they're kind of right. It's the same guy. I mean, it's not the same player. I don't mean that, but as far as where they sit fantasy wise, it's kind of the same. So it's really, you're looking at Jacobs. You're looking at Jacobs and Chubb. I mean, I think Jacobs is an upgrade over Chubb right now, but we just don't know if that's how it's going to be, right? We have a different Browns offense. Chubb's coming on. I don't know. Would you do that trade, Justin? I just feel like it's kind of, you're just rearranging the same thing.
I think I'd rather just chill out. I'll stick with like Smith and Jacobs and for me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I was trying to talk my way into it, but I just feel like I don't think you're doing anything but just changing players, but I don't think you're gaining anything too much, Daniel. Sorry about that.
Real quick for Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of these guys are good trade value, honestly. Probably not Jacobs. And I don't love trading for veteran running backs in dynasty leagues, but Barkley is fine there. I think if you're just going to do a 1v1 for May, I would rank it probably in that order: Metcalf, Wilson, Barkley, and I probably wouldn't trade for Jacobs. So hopefully that helps.
All right. Lex plants some trees.
Yeah.
I like that name, Lex.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Would y'all trade away Najee for Brian Thomas Jr.? My wide receivers are Neighbors, Hopkins, Ridley, Mooney, Pickens. Running backs are Gibbs, Hall, A. Jones, Dobbins, Brooks, and Najee. Okay. You have Neighbors.
I would absolutely do this.
I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know that you need Brian. I mean, your wide receivers. Yeah. I mean, Hopkins seems to be granted, at least last night he had a fantastic game, and Ridley is kind of coming to his own as well. And Mooney is, I'm not sure. I didn't look this morning. I'm sorry, you guys. I was doing a lot. I don't know the extent of Drake London's injury. If we're going to get more from Mooney, but even without that, Mooney has been really good. So and Pickens, like
Right.
I don't know if you really need Brian Thomas Jr. But I mean, as far as straight up, like it's a fine trade. I just don't
Yeah.
know if you need to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I would do it just to you're making the other team worse.
Hey,
so I'm here. So I'm here for it.
Najee has been all right.
He's been all right. You're right. You're right.
He's not, but I mean, consider if you have Gibbs, Brees Hall, Aaron Jones, Dobbins, Brooks.
Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
That's a good team.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good team. I mean, if you want to do it just to do it, but I don't think I don't think you need Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know if you're starting him right now. I mean, depends on how many I guess you start. I mean, I guess you would start him over Ridley and Mooney. So but you have Pickens as well. So yeah, I don't know.
Kind of
Good
stacked.
for you. Good for you. You have a good team, Lex. Plant some trees. Okay.
Real quick, MacFam says that they saw that it would be a game time decision.
Oh,
Drake.
okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Game time is not fun for fantasy purposes. But it's good if you have Mooney.
Those two not playing on Thursday or something.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for all the love. I see a lot of nice comments in there, which is
Thanks, guys.
Always kind for us. Justin and I are, making things happen every Tuesday morning. It's tough. I mean, it's 10 a.m. my time when we roll through this pod. We're barely done with week 9, but here we are, week 10. And as usual, you guys can hit us up on Twitter/X. He is Justin_Redwards. I am Jen Akins NFL. For Justin and myself, thank you all for joining us. Have a lovely rest of your day. Go out and vote if you have not voted. Please. It is your right. Justin, anything to say for the week here?
No way. Have a great weekend.
No way, he says. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.